Hi, and welcome back to Lip Out with Latona. I am your host, Stacey Latona, and our goal, as I've said before, is to empower you to get you excited about golf, even if you were on the course and weren't so happy about it, to get yourself back out there. Now, I don't profess to be a guru at all, but I know enough to help you. But even more importantly, I know enough people that can really help you, which is why I have this wonderful guest today. I want to welcome Noelle Johnston.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. And I want to give a little bit of background about you for everybody. Number one, you played college golf. You are in professional sports, which just that alone as a woman is a big deal, and it's professional golf. And then on top of it, you just joined a country club by yourself as a single lady, right? So that's amazing, by the way.
Thank you.
Probably doesn't seem like a big deal, but it really is, I mean, I'm not part of a country club, would like to do it at some point, but I think it's smart because you can do it younger and get it done a little less expensive, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And as I mentioned before, there's a lot of men on the golf course. So I'm just saying, it's not a bad place to be.
That is true. That is very true.
So basically, I want to ask you, when's the first time you put a club in your hand and who introduced you to it?
Well, my dad introduced me to the game, and I always had clubs growing up as a kid. He's a very avid golfer, and therefore my mom is an avid golfer, so she can play with him. So I always had clubs, but I really didn't get into the game until about 8th grade, just before high school golf. Joining the golf team is what really got me more interested in the sport. Since it's a pretty individual sport, growing up as a junior golfer, it's not super fun. It's not the same experience as playing on the soccer team or playing on the softball team. So playing golf never really interested me as a kid, but as soon as I got into high school, it really piqued my interest.
Oh, that's amazing. Do you now I've golfed with you, so I know what a good golfer you are. Which, can be intimidating, but I'm trying to, again, I've walked in the shoes of everybody that's getting going in golf. So I have faced some of that and I still do. But I wanted to kind of get a little input from you. Like, do you still get frustrated, even as somebody that's, been out there a lot and is a good golfer?
Oh, every time I play, it's frustrating moment. It's a game that it's never perfect, and I've had many frustrating moments throughout my career playing.
So it never gets easier. So we just got to keep at it is the bottom line.
No, it never gets easier, and if anything, your expectations get higher.
Right. So did you ever get any lessons? I've never gotten any lessons. Clearly, I haven't gotten any lessons, but have you gotten any lessons?
Yes, lots. When I was a junior golfer, my dad enrolled me in lessons. So I was taking lessons, every other week or, once a month at least while I was really playing competitive golf. Since I stopped playing competitive golf, I have not taken a lesson since.
Well, you're on a lot of golf courses, so at least you're, continuing to play all the time.
Yeah.
I think
I have the fundamentals, and it really hasn't changed much on what I need to work on these days.
Well, it's interesting because there's two things that I'm getting from you. One, I think it's important to make sure we tell everybody is that, fathers to get their daughters on the golf course because, they're comfortable. And also another thing I had mentioned in another podcast is how great it is for marriage. It's something you can do with your husband. I realize they want to get away sometimes for 6 hours, but I like the idea that you're like, either I'm going to go away for 6 hours to play, by the way, you take the kids or whatever it is, or I'm coming with you. I've been practicing. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that helped me be very comfortable with playing with all different generations and men, especially since I played with my dad and his buddies all the time. I was their fourth in a lot of Saturday morning tee times when they didn't have somebody. And then it's a great sport to play as a family. So, all three of us have played countless rounds together, and we all have different ability levels. So I think that's what makes it really nice.
Oh, that is cool. In fact, that brings me to what's the best course that, like, sort of memory or best course that you've played on? Because that's kind of the cool part of it, right? Too. Like, I love that. I go to a course and I'm like, oh, I never would have experienced the beauty that is this golf course, right?
I've been so lucky to play a lot of really nice courses, but I think hands down, my favorite is Pinehurst number 2. It's just really historic being Pinehurst, really famous U.S. Open golf course. They held the U.S. Open and the Women's U.S. Open in back-to-back weeks, which is really unheard of in women's golf, to be playing at the same venue as the men a week later.
Ooh, we should be so excited.
That's probably my favorite memory is Pinehurst, and specifically the number 2
Oh, that's
course.
awesome. This is what I want to I had mentioned that sometimes some of the gentlemen that are on the course aren't always as friendly as they could be to women golfers. And I understand there's some frustration with that. If they get behind for women, they think it's going to take longer. So that's where I'm going to talk through a lot of this stuff as I go through different podcasts to be like, we want to play the game the right way. We want to make sure that, we aren't frustrating people, but also we have a right to be there. They do not own the course, right? And we're paying just as
Mm-mm.
much money to be there. So as well as educating, I'm also pretty much throughout this going to be telling men they need to move over because we're coming in droves. If I have anything to do with it, right? But what is one of the most irritating, frustrating, whatever things that happened to you that somebody said or did as a man on the course to you? And I'm not a man hater. I love the men, but I'm just curious. Can you think of anything like that happened?
Well, I mean, it's happened throughout my entire life, so I don't have particular instances that have really stood out to
Right.
me. And it's happened to a lot of my friends and college teammates too, where, as you mentioned and touched on, there's just this generalization that women are going to be slow and poor golfers and they don't hit it very far and they're going to be looking for their ball or talking too much and taking a long time. So I would just say it's the overgeneralization that women don't know how to play golf, or that they're going to be slow and keep the men up, which is usually the complete opposite.
Right. By the way, Noelle can kick your ass, just so you know, in case there's any question. She can probably outdrive you. So just, show some respect.
Yeah, so it's just the overgeneralization that, we're not going to be able to keep up or play the game as well.
Right, right. And in some cases, I get that. As long as I think if you go, with somebody that has played before, and I still get weird, like even like I'm fine if I know the course and I'm driving a cart. I'd prefer if I'm playing with a guy, just like if I'm driving on a date, you drive. I don't want to have to. I'd
Yeah,
rather just sit there and drink a cocktail or whatever.
I'm the same way.
Right.
I don't want to drive the car if I don't have to.
Right, right. But sometimes, just knowing where you're going and kind of getting an idea. And it's okay to kind of fumble through, like, wait a minute, or ask somebody, like, I'm pretty sure you can check. And I always, again, I'm trying to give a little information to women that might be watching that haven't played. It's really clear when you get up to the tee, you can check, oh, I'm supposed to be on hole 3. This is hole 3 where I'm about to tee off. So there are some, I was up north, it was a little confusing. I couldn't even tell, like, where I was going. And for whatever reason, they didn't have a map, but usually there's a map to kind of show you the general direction where the next hole is going. So there's clues. It's not like you just go out and go,
Yeah.
but if you're new to it, you don't know that. You have no idea like what you're supposed to do. So definitely go with somebody. So what are maybe some words of encouragement to a couple things? One, somebody that's just getting into golf, a woman getting into golf, and also getting into pro sports and just being in the PGA world. And I know how good she is at her job because I work with her, so I know. You're awesome. I mean, really, you're not that old, and you've accomplished a ton of stuff. So tell us a little bit about your how would you encourage, and then what are some of how'd you get into it?
Well, I would say my first word of encouragement to a new golfer is to not worry about how you're playing. If you're playing with somebody who's more experienced, don't assume that they care how you're playing, because in reality, they're probably more worried about their own golf shot and where their own ball is going and their own golf swing, and they're probably not paying that much attention to you at all.
Right.
So that would be my biggest tip of advice: is don't have the intimidation factor or the worry that they think you're a bad golfer, because
Right.
they probably don't care.
Right.
And then I would say my biggest tip for getting into working in sports or in golf in particular is just to work really hard. Golf especially is just a sport that takes a long time, whether you're playing or working in it. So you're working extremely long hours and long days. So just being used to that and up for anything.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I wanted to touch on what you said about not worrying about what other people think. One of the things that I'm learning, I'm still not good at it because I'm chatty, but I tried now not to. I mean, a lot of people don't know you can just pick up your ball. If you hit a bad shot, just pick it up and keep moving.
I do it all the time.
Pick it up. And one, it keeps things moving. But also, it's one of those things where I'm trying to learn to just, all right, I had a bad shot. be quiet. Nobody gives a rat's ass. You know what I mean? Like, pick it up. No one cares. But it's hard because we all have an ego, and we're like, oh God, I don't want to be the one person nobody, is thrilled to be in the cart with because they got to find my ball. But usually it's not far enough to have to find it, so it's pretty straight. So I think that was good. Those are good words of encouragement on both things. um, and then I'm trying to think what else is a final thing to uh, leave us with. I mean, what's your next now as far as like the clubhouse that you joined? So what would you have any inspirational thoughts on? Oh, you know what I wanted to ask you actually, now that I think about this, I did do a little checking on 18 holes. So the average score, to help our viewers as well, the average score of a woman golfer is 108 and men is 96. That's the average. So I was shocked to see that 96 even for a guy. Average of a college female golfer is between 68 and 82. So to kind of help with that from a score perspective,
Big range.
it is a big range. Um, but that's a woman college golfer that's golfing a lot. You somewhere in the middle. Not that you have to give your best score unless you want to, but is that does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, yeah, it does. I mean, now I would not consider myself a college
Yeah,
golfer, so
yeah,
I am above that
yeah.
range.
Not that
I
far.
mean, yeah, I think what really is impactful on your score is how much you're practicing. I mean,
True.
anybody who's a new golfer can't just expect to go out there and play really great when you play once a month or once every 2 months. So,
Yeah,
when I was a college player, I was practicing and playing every single day. Now I'm not that, so I need to adjust my expectations on overall score. So I would say that range is really accurate for college golfers while they're playing college golf.
yeah.
And then I would definitely agree with that average range for scores for men and women. Sounds about right.
Yeah, well, that kind of I think helps people too, because I don't even keep score. I mean, I kind of roughly know. I know if I'm hitting on par. I know if I get, a birdie or a boat. Like I kind of know that, but I usually start keeping score when it starts out well, and then I'm like, oh, I'm done. Like 4 holes in, I'm like, I'm not even gonna bother. I'm just gonna enjoy the game. So it really can be whatever you want it to be. You don't have to necessarily keep score either. So I think that that's really important, for people to know as well. So it's been awesome. I told you it would be totally painless. Is there anything else you want to leave? I don't want to just assume unless you've got some other little nuggets that you want to share, or you said
No, I love the game of golf, and I think there's a lot of great things about it that a lot of people don't realize. And my favorite part about the game is it's really social. So if you like hanging out with your girlfriends and having a couple drinks, it's definitely worth playing
it always
golf.
comes back to the drinks. People are gonna watch it. They're
It
gonna be like,
does.
"How many drinks does Stacey have on a golf course?" But not that many. But I'm just saying, it is such a great. It's better to me. Like it is better than just going to the bar, and socializing that way. At least you're, getting a little exercise, and like you said, there's an activity involved in it.
Mhm.
And the way we do it with work, and we get a chance to go out and golf with everybody that we work with. And I think one of the bigger things too. There's so much business that's done on the golf course that if women aren't golfing and they can't accept the invitation, even to say,
Right.
yeah, I'll go. Even if you are on the cart, think about that for 4 or 5 hours with the guy that you're trying to sell something to.
Mhm.
That's a lot of good quality time that your counterpart, who's a guy, is going to be spending the time with. Like I'm always, I'm like, wait a minute. I'm always, wait, what, you guys are going where? They get really annoyed with me, but I'm like, I don't care. Listen, I do the same thing you do.
Absolutely.
I'm going, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Noelle, for joining us and for shedding some light on your typical, what it's like to be in the golf world for a lot of your life, obviously, and what it's turned into for you from a career and all that. I mean, that's huge. And props to your dad for getting you out there when you were young.
Yeah, he's pretty happy about the whole thing.
Oh, it's so funny. I really appreciate it. And as far as you guys go and listening, I really appreciate that too. So again, this has been Lip Out with Latona. And I'm Stacey Latona, your host. And if you guys could be so kind, subscribe, like it, and please share it because we really want to spread the word and make sure that women are getting out and doing their golfing thing. And we're going to have an event, Noelle, at some point and invite everybody to come out. That would be
Absolutely.
amazing. So anyway, thanks guys, and you guys have a really great day. Bye.